Have you ever wanted a podcast that did it all? Sports, politics, world events. Well, you have come to the right place, because you are listening to C&C Talks.
Hello, I'm Colin.
And I'm Charlie.
And welcome to the C&C Talks podcast, episode 9 of season 2.
Just a reminder, as we do every week, we release every Tuesday and we talk about politics, world events, and sports. It is currently Monday, March 6th, 2023 at about 1 p.m. Pacific time.
And we have a fairly light show today, not a huge news week, but we are going to talk a little bit about CPAC and what all this means for the Republican Party as they head into the 2024 election. We'll talk some about college basketball. We'll give you a bit of a preview of the World Baseball Classic, which is set to start in less than 24 hours, I believe, from when this episode is released. A few other things as well. Charlie, let's start by talking about CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference, which met in D.C. this week, and it was interesting watching it. Not necessarily a whole lot of substance, but there was a lot of key Republican figures there, and it's getting a lot of speculation towards 2024.
Haley was there. I believe DeSantis was there as well.
DeSantis was not there.
He was not there.
He gave a speech.
He did give a speech
at the Reagan Library.
He was elsewhere. But it does pose some questions for the Republicans going into 2024 with the amount of candidates they have. But also, I think one of the bigger stories is the fact that they had very, very poor attendance to this event. What do you think this means for them, Colin?
Well, I mean, you say poor attendance. The attendance was so poor that for the final day, they had to hire people to go and sit and to they had to hire seat fillers.
Yeah, that is never good for them. But what do you think this means for them in 2024 with the amount of candidates that they have, or possible candidates? Because DeSantis hasn't officially said that he's going to run yet, but there is an assumption that he will.
Charlie, let me just tell you, Ron DeSantis is going to run for president. He's holding events. Either he's held in the last couple days or he's holding events in the near future in Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada. Those are the first 3 primary states in the GOP calendar. Ron DeSantis is going to run for president. Trump obviously is in the race. There's always the potential that he gets indicted. He's said, though, in the last couple days that even if he is indicted, he's still going to continue running because, of course, he is. And then there's Nikki Haley. Charlie, Nikki Haley's candidacy is crazy. Right? She doesn't have a realistic shot whatsoever.
She doesn't, but it is interesting to see her. She is trying to, of course, distance herself from Trump, and do think it's interesting. She's pushing a new generational wave of republicanism. Actually, and looking more towards the past, she has some similarities, at least in some of her policies, to Reagan and the Reagan era of politics as well, which I thought was
in some ways, yes, but I actually think, I mean, she's basically said on Sean Hannity's show a couple weeks ago that she was unable to name a single policy difference that she had with Trump. She's basically just trying to be the next generation with the same policy. And honestly, that's not that bad of an idea, but it's not a winning idea because so much of the Republican base is committed to Trump, and you're seeing other potential candidates with the same thing, like Tim Scott.
Why would you vote for Why would you vote for a new person if you already have someone with the exact same ideology who's proven they can win a presidential election?
Yeah, but it's interesting because I'm not sure that Trump can win another presidential election. He may have ruined himself during his presidency and post-presidency.
So then who do you think is the Republicans' best chance to win then?
Their best chance to win would probably be someone that they just wouldn't nominate, someone like Larry Hogan, a moderate like that.
Of the people we know are running.
Of the people who could realistically get the nomination, DeSantis is their best shot, but really I don't think that there's anyone that could realistically get the nomination besides Trump or DeSantis.
Yeah, but
I think it will probably be Trump, but could be DeSantis.
If you get DeSantis, you got 28-9, I believe, electoral points basically immediately, because you know he's going to win Florida.
I mean, yes, he is probably going to win Florida. He shockingly won Florida by like 20 points almost in 2022, so much for it being a swing state. But I feel like we already basically knew Florida's probably off the map in 2024 for Democrats.
Yeah, and We will of course have more news on this as more candidates fall into the picture, candidates drop out, as we move very rapidly towards the 2024 election.
It's amazing how just, 3 months ago we were discussing the 2022 election?
And now we're already looking forward to 2024.
Already deep into 2024. Politics is funny like that. Let's talk about something that was discussed very heavily at CPAC, though, which is there's a lot of bills around the country in Republican-led state legislatures that are passing, Charlie, that are just extremely anti-LGBTQ. They're banning drag shows for no clear reason, banning conversion therapy,
and I think
a whole host of bills making it more and more difficult to be an LGBTQ person in America.
And I believe one of the reasons that they are doing this is the Republican Party is conservative, but also they have a lot of religious institutions of Christianity and the variants of that in their ideology, and they're the main ones who are pushing this big anti-LGBTQ push.
It's funny because I feel like Christianity is just completely being misinterpreted by these people. It's like it's supposed to be about love, right? Love thy neighbor.
Yep.
And like, where is that? Where it's just hate.
I think they forgot to read that part.
Well, exactly. And I feel like religion, and we've discussed this a little bit on our podcast in the past, but I feel like religion is being used to justify bigotry.
Yes.
And religion's not an excuse for bigotry.
Of course it isn't. And it's being used as one.
It is being used as one. And also these bills, deeply unpopular bills.
Yes.
And we were talking about DeSantis. There's nowhere where they're showing up more than in Florida, and especially the bills in education in Florida to limit the education surrounding homosexuality and transgender and all of these.
As well as other courses, there was that whole controversy about a month ago of them trying to ban a AP African American Studies course.
Yeah, which of course then they were unable to do. Now Ron DeSantis, it seems like, is moving to ban AP classes in the state of Florida, which honestly just has a bad impact on children. And he's literally just trying to destroy his Florida students' chances at education without...
We need to protect our children by making them so stupid that they don't know how to function in society.
Well, here's the thing, though, right, is that what is maybe the most obvious sign of authoritarianism? When they go to try to restrict education.
Yep.
And authoritarianism is having a moment around the globe right now. Look at Russia.
All over the world.
Look at the U.S., frankly. Look at Israel. Just to name a
China
few examples.
And India.
All over the world, and it's not good news.
No, we will see again over the next few years how if these trends continue or if they are broken.
Yeah. And now let's talk about someone who, I don't know why we keep bringing him up on our podcast, but
you say that every time we talk about him.
I do. Well, to be completely honest, it gets us a lot of listens.
It does.
Whenever we talk about him. So we're going to talk about him again, and that is Andrew Tate, who now allegedly has lung cancer. He is, of course, in Romanian prison now for human trafficking.
And we shall see how this develops.
Yeah, and I say allegedly because there's a non-zero chance that it is just a ploy to try to get out of prison.
Which we shall see.
But it does seem to be, or at least according to his doctors, fairly serious. See if that's truthful or not. Yeah, we shall see what happens with him. You're listening to the C&C Talks podcast. Thanks for listening. Let's talk a little bit about college basketball, Charlie, because this is Champ Week, where 32 bids will be sealed to the NCAA tournament through conference championships in both the men's bracket and the women's bracket, and it was a pretty exciting week.
It was.
Some of the bids that have already been sealed in the Northeastern Conference, Farley Dickinson, they sealed a bid for the first time since 2019. The Ohio Valley Conference is a big one because Morehead State got shockingly eliminated Southeast Missouri State, who just had an absolutely insane win over Tennessee Tech. Tennessee Tech thought that they had hit a buzzer beater 3 to win the game, but their foot was on the line, tied the game, sent it to overtime. Just an incredible game. As I feel like college basketball, Charlie, it's just incredible.
Yeah,
the amount of clutch plays. I feel like every time that the last second 3 gets put up, like it's going in. It's not like it's gonna miss.
And I would say another great game that I would say it was just based on the teams who were playing. I was going to say the winner was going to be pretty obvious, but that's South Carolina finishing undefeated. What a season
in the
they've
women's
had
tournament.
so far.
Yes,
Yeah.
South Carolina just, I believe 32-0 now.
Yes,
it's going to go
32-0.
in as the 1 seed into the women's tournament with a chance to go 38-0. Obviously going to be the favorites, but some other men's tournament finals in the Big South Conference. UNC Asheville won there. Drake won the Missouri Valley Conference, and Kennesaw State won the Atlantic Sun Conference. Charlie, Kennesaw State 3 years ago won 1 game. Now they're going to the NCAA tournament.
Impressive.
That is an impressive turnaround. Now in the women's bracket, the Tennessee Tech they did win the Ohio Valley Conference. Chattanooga won the Southern Conference. St. Louis won the Atlantic 10 Conference, and another insane game and the win over UMass. The Virginia Tech won the ACC. Really impressive season they have. As we mentioned, South Carolina won the SEC. Iowa, winners of the Big Ten. Washington State, shockingly, Charlie, winning the Pac-12.
As a 7 seed.
As a 7 seed. Washington State had to beat Utah, Colorado, and UCLA to win the Pac-12 championship. And Stanford also went out. Really, a lot of top teams suffered pretty bad losses in their conference tournaments, such as Maryland, LSU, Indiana, and Stanford. So a bunch more conference tournaments coming up. And Charlie, we are actually, I believe, next Wednesday we're gonna do
bracket special.
We're gonna do a live stream. More details will be announced next week, but we're gonna do a live stream where we unveil our brackets heading into the tournaments, both the men's bracket and the women's bracket. Now, Charlie, let's talk about the World Baseball Classic, which is set to start. Talk about a couple of the teams in it. We'll start with the U.S.
The U.S. team is looking pretty good. We didn't have a lot of people dropping out as we usually do, but we'll see. I don't really know.
Their lineup's ridiculous.
The lineup this year for the U.S. is really good. We'll see how they do.
There's one problem with the U.S. though. I feel like pitching.
Yeah,
it's bad. You know who their best pitcher I would argue is Lance Lynn.
Yeah, the American pitching isn't the best.
There's of course the Dominican Republic. This has got to, Charlie, be the top team in the tournament right now. Just an insane roster, even with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. pulling out.
I think they're just gonna roll all the way. They could.
Let's put it this way: they have a pitcher on their roster who threw a no-hitter in the World Series, and he's their second best pitcher.
This is gonna be good.
And then Puerto Rico, another really good team. They have a shot to win, maybe?
Yeah, possibly. I think Japan also has a good shot.
Yeah, you got Otani, obviously, on Japan. Seiya Suzuki pulling out, unfortunately, for them. But, that's another good team. Does any other team besides those 4 teams realistically have any type of shot?
No. Unfortunately not.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a good tournament. Starting, I believe, less than 24 hours from when this episode debuts. Let's talk a little bit about the NBA season. Interesting week in the NBA. We saw a rematch, or not really a rematch, we saw a battle between Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and Suns versus Mavericks. Suns coming out on top. They've been really good with Kevin Durant, Charlie.
They have. And the other huge game that happened on the same day was the Warriors losing to the Lakers and the return of
Don't talk to me
Curry.
about that one. In the return, I mean,
the
Warriors...
got beaten by Anthony Davis.
We got beaten by Anthony Davis. The Warriors are a really fascinating team right now because they're really good at home.
You have 7 road wins.
7 road wins. That's just embarrassing.
You are going to get first rounded.
Debatable. But then,
you have to play 2 road games. There's no way minimum.
Fair. But then there's the Mavericks, who really struggled with Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. It's not clear if they're going to work
They've
together.
gone 4-5, I believe, since the trade was completed.
Yeah, and even worse, I believe, while both of them were on the court at the same time. I believe it's like 2-5 or something. And the Clippers also with Russell Westbrook. What a disaster that's been.
Oh, absolutely. But who's looking good at this point?
The entire Eastern Conference, or the entire top of the Eastern Conference.
How about the New York Knicks?
New York Knicks just beating the Celtics on Sunday night in a really
double
overtime win? Yeah, exactly. Knicks looking really
without
good.
Jalen Brunson.
Without Jalen Brunson. That's a good team. Let's talk a little bit about Formula One, Charlie.
Yep, Formula One Bahrain Grand Prix this weekend, and an absolute dominant 1-2 by Red Bull. And unfortunately for the Ferraris, their engine problems continue as Leclerc DNF'd on, I believe, around lap 30. But the story of the weekend was Aston Martin, who in the last few seasons has been considered a lower midfield team. Fernando Alonso, in his first race with the team, got Carlos Sainz with about 7 laps to go and got on the podium. We'll see
third place?
Yeah, they got third.
So, and did Verstappen win this
Verstappen
race?
won from Perez and then Alonso. And his teammate, Lance Stroll, who had a broken hand after a cycling incident a few weeks ago, managed to get 6th.
Which team? Aston Martin.
That's the other Aston Martin.
Aston Martin.
And
how did Mercedes do?
Mercedes didn't do very well. I believe they finished 5th and 7th. They didn't drive great. Alfa Romeo had an okay race. Williams looked pretty good. Absolute disaster from McLaren. Piastri DNF'd with a mechanical failure, and I believe Norris pit 6 times to fill up a leak that he had, which honestly was pretty dangerous considering that apparently he was leaking some things onto the track.
Yeah. Is it a reasonable assumption to assume that Max Verstappen will win his 3rd straight championship?
It is very possible that Red Bull wins every single race this season. It is very possible.
Wow.
The next closest car to Verstappen when he crossed the line was Alonso, who was 42 seconds behind him.
That's unbelievable.
Yep. Well, we're in for another season. F1 fans, if you don't like Red Bull, don't watch the races.
Okay, you heard it here first. Derek Carr signed with the New Orleans Saints, Charlie. What does this do for the Saints and really that whole dynamic in the NFC South, which we've talked about a little bit this offseason? Not a very good division at the moment.
Well, I think now the Saints win the division unless either the Panthers or the Falcons end up picking up Lamar Jackson, which we'll see what the Ravens do. I think the bigger story, though, is now do the Jets go all in on Aaron Rodgers?
They were thinking about Carr. Do we know for sure whether Aaron Rodgers is going to come back? He has not made an official announcement.
I don't know. I believe he has stated that he will be making his decision soon.
Yeah, he's returned from his...
He's milking it for media.
He's returned from his darkness retreat, which has got to be the stupidest story in sports so far this year.
I would argue the A's are worse, but...
I mean, you're not wrong.
Speaking of which, baseball is again.
What if Aaron Rodgers... Here's an idea. What if he goes and signs with the A's?
Can he play baseball?
He can probably, play better than most of the A's.
Or how about he just buys the team and moves them to Green Bay?
That's another possibility.
Because they don't have a minor league team, do they?
I don't know, but they do have Milwaukee, the Brewers there nearby. So
that could be a good rivalry.
Not when one of the teams in it is the A's.
Yeah, good point. All right, we need to wrap this up.
We do need to wrap this up. So, thanks for watching, everybody, or listening, rather. So make sure that you subscribe on YouTube or give us a follow wherever you listen to podcasts. We have episodes coming out every single Tuesday. Visit our website, cctalks.net, which has everything that you need to know about the show. Call us with your questions, 360-389-2630. Again, that's 360-389-2630. And make sure to follow us on Twitter at CC Talks Podcast. Maybe we'll try to get Charlie to do the outro next week.
And we'll see. I'll do it on the live stream.
Sure. For our producer Morris, the production designer Zach, and our proof editor Drake, I'm Colin.
And I'm Charlie.
We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening, everybody.